The moment Brooke opened the mansion door, I knew something was wrong. Her smile wasn't a welcome, it was a warning. Inside, the entire family was already seated like a jury waiting for the accused. And my husband, Ethan, the billionaire I built my life around, couldn't even look at me. Before I took another step, Brooke folded her arms and said, "Keisha, we all know what you've been doing behind my son's back. If this already made your blood boil, tap like. And subscribe so you don't miss stories where justice finally wins." I stood there frozen, tried to understand what I'd walked into. The house felt colder than I remembered, like every wall had been listening to lies I never told. Ethan didn't move, not a blink, not a breath. He just stared at the table, jaw tight, avoiding my eyes like I was a stranger who'd wandered into the wrong home. Then I noticed something even worse. My son's shoes were by the staircase, but he wasn't here. Where's Malik? I whispered. Brooke stepped closer, lowering her voice enough for only me to hear. "Safe, away from you, until you admit the truth." A sinking heaviness filled my chest. I wasn't just being accused, I was being framed. And tonight, they were ready to destroy me before I even knew what the crime was. I never imagined it would come to this. There was a time Ethan used to pull me close the second I walked through the door. A time he bragged about how I built my marketing firm from nothing, how I was the smartest woman he'd ever met. Back then, he didn't care that I was a black woman stepping into a world his family never wanted me to enter. Or maybe he cared, but he loved me enough to pretend it didn't matter. But Brooke, she never pretended. From the beginning, she inspected me the way people inspect produce at the grocery store, turning me over in her mind, looking for flaws she could exaggerate. When Ethan introduced me as his girlfriend, she smiled and said, "Oh, she's pretty, just not what I expected for you." When we got married, she told guests my dress looked shockingly elegant for someone with my complexion. At family dinners, she pushed away dishes I cooked and muttered that ethnic food upset her stomach. But mac and cheese, she devoured it like it came from heaven. I kept swallowing it all. Every microaggression, every comment dipped in fake sweetness. Every side eye meant to remind me I didn't belong. Still, Ethan defended me at first. He'd tell me, she just needs time. But time didn't fix anything. It only made her smarter. Because the more success I found, late meetings, travel, business dinners, the more Brooke saw an opening. And now I realized she had been planning this betrayal long before I ever saw it coming. When Brooke turned the laptop toward me and pressed play, my heart stopped because the woman stepping into that hotel hallway had my face. But it wasn't me, not even close. If this happened in front of you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you stand for fairness, hit subscribe. Brooke let the video loop again, slowing it down like she was presenting evidence in a courtroom. "There," she said, tapping the screen. "That's you sneaking around with him." Him, my business partner, Darius. A married man, a father, a man I'd known since college. A man who was like a brother to me. My throat tightened. "This is fake," I whispered. "This isn't real." "Brooke, you know this isn't real." But she leaned back in her chair, smirking like she'd been waiting years for this moment. "Oh, sweetheart, denial doesn't make you innocent." I turned to Ethan. "Baby, you know me. Look at me. You know I wouldn't cheat on you." But he didn't. He stared at the table, jaw clenched, breathing hard like every lie on that screen had already become truth in his mind. Then the door opened, and my son, Malik, walked in, still in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. He looked at me, confused, scared, unsure. Brooke placed a hand on his shoulder. "Ask your mother," she whispered. "Ask her why she betrayed your family." And in that moment, I realized they weren't accusing me. They were crucifying me. I don't remember how I got out of that house. One moment I was staring at my son's trembling face, and the next, Ethan's brother had me by the arm, dragging me toward the door like I was trash they were finally taking out. He didn't let me grab my purse. He didn't let me speak. He didn't even let me look back. The door slammed behind me so hard the windows shook, and I stood on the front steps of the mansion I had helped turn into a home, barefoot, broken, and already erased. Within hours, my world collapsed. Ethan's lawyer emailed me the divorce papers before I even made it back to my apartment. Social media erupted with rumors, screenshots, sightings, anonymous tips, all perfectly coordinated. My biggest client paused their contract. A second one canceled outright. By the end of the week, 3 more followed. And the worst part wasn't the career I built being ripped apart. It was Malik. Every time I called, Brooke declined. When I texted, Ethan replied with 2 words: "Stop contacting." I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, asking myself how a lie could spread faster than the truth, how a family I loved could turn so violently, how a husband who once praised my strength now treated me like a stain he needed to wipe off his life. But even in the darkness, somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "Survive this. Not for Ethan, not for Brooke, for Malik." Everything changed the moment Raven slid the folder across the cafe table and whispered, "You weren't the first black woman she destroyed, but you're going to be the last." If you believe talent can silence every insult, share this video. And to everyone watching from the US, UK, and Canada, your voice matters. I opened the folder slowly, hands shaking. Inside were screenshots, bank transfers, voice memos, and photos Brooke never expected anyone to see. The first page hit me like a punch. A $300,000 payment wired directly to Darius 3 days before he suddenly cut contact. The memo line, "For cooperation." The next page was worse. Audio recordings. Brooke's voice calm and venomous. "Just get me what I need. I don't care how you do it. She doesn't belong in our family." There were AI files too. Templates for deepfake videos, facial mapping attempts, drafts of text messages she planned to leak if needed. Raven leaned forward. She's been doing this for years. 2 other women Ethan dated, both biracial. Both pushed out with fake evidence. Both too scared to fight. I felt my chest tightening, not with fear, but with clarity. This wasn't insecurity. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't a mother being protective. This was racism, calculated, funded, and sharpened like a weapon. Raven closed the folder gently. "You're not crazy. You're not guilty. You were targeted." And for the first time since my world collapsed, I wasn't drowning. I was waking up. Raven didn't waste a second. Within 24 hours, the evidence was in the hands of journalists known for exposing racially motivated abuse of power. And by the next morning, my phone was vibrating nonstop. The headline hit every platform at once. Billionaire's mother fabricated affair to remove black daughter-in-law. My heart pounded as I scrolled to the comments. Outrage, disbelief, support, and thousands of people demanding justice. By noon, Ethan's PR team had resigned. By evening, investors were calling emergency meetings. And by nightfall, a court summons arrived with a speed I'd never seen before. At the hearing, the judge reviewed every file Raven uncovered. The payments, the recordings, the AI edits, the pattern of targeting black women. Brooke sat in silence, her face pale, her confidence gone. Her lawyer tried to object until the judge raised a hand. "This wasn't a misunderstanding," he said. "This was a coordinated racial manipulation." Ethan finally looked at me, not as a wife, not as a partner, but as the woman he had failed in the worst way a man can fail the person he claims to love. He whispered, "Keisha, I'm so..." I looked away. Some apologies come too late to matter. The judge restored my full custody. Brooke was barred from seeing Malik ever again. And as Ethan walked out of that courtroom alone, I realized something powerful. I hadn't just survived the truth. The truth had saved me. When the dust finally settled, I found myself standing in front of the same apartment mirror that once reflected my lowest moments. But this time, the woman staring back wasn't broken. She was rebuilding. Malik sleeps beside me again, curled against my chest the same way he did before my world fell apart. He doesn't ask for Ethan. He doesn't cry for Brooke. Children know where safety lives, even when adults try to rewrite the truth. Work returned slowly at first, then all at once. Clients who once doubted me sent apologies. New opportunities opened up because people respected what I survived. because surviving that kind of lie takes a different kind of strength. As for Ethan, he stepped down from his company within weeks. Too much scandal, too much pressure, too many people asking why he'd trust a racist lie over the woman who loved him. Brooke faced her own consequences, legal, financial, and personal. The walls she built to keep her family pure ended up trapping her in a life no one wanted to share. I don't celebrate their downfall. I don't need to. My victory isn't their pain, it's my freedom. And as I tuck Malik into bed every night, I whisper the same thing. We survived the lie, and we chose the truth. Share this if you believe no one should lose everything because of lies. And subscribe for more stories where justice finally wins.